as we've heard, AI deployment, AI adoption in the public sector has a huge potential. And one of the leading countries in this regard is, in my opinion, the United Kingdom. And that is also due to the Office for Artificial Intelligence and also the person who's leading this office. Sana Khareghani is the head of the Office for Artificial Intelligence of the United Kingdom's government. And she will elaborate on the efforts of her office and the effort of the UK government to advance AI adoption in a conversation with my good friend, Antonia Schmidt. Antonia?
Yeah, thanks so much, Nabil, for having us today and for the introduction. As you already mentioned, and the title of this talk is, of course, is government ready for AI? And as Nabil mentioned, we're very lucky to have Sana with us today. Sana Khareghani is the head of the Office for AI of the UK. And they've been actually working on this topic since its inception in 2018. Sana has over 20 years experience both in public and private sector, holds a BSc in computer science and also an MBA from MIT, just to name a few of her accomplishments. And I think we'll have a very exciting talk today about, is government really ready for AI? And to kick us off, Sana will give us a short introduction to what is the Office for AI actually doing. So Sana, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Antonia. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me here today. I'm very excited to be in such esteemed company. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Sana Khareghani, and I am the head of the UK government's Office for Artificial Intelligence. I want to launch into the talk because we have a lot of ground to cover, and I want to have some time left over for Antonia and I to have questions. But I wanted to start off by giving you a quick overview of the importance of artificial intelligence, what we've been up to the past couple of years, and I'll end up on what we've got coming up next. So if we can go to slide 1, please. So here's a very quick kind of potted history. In 2017, we had an independent review into artificial intelligence that was led by Dame Wendy Hall and Jerome Pesenti. The review focused on how to grow the AI industry in the UK, recognizing that this is an area that the UK is good at and really has a history and legacy of pioneering. In 2018, we announced the AI sector deal, which was a near £1 billion package of support from government and industry to help grow the AI ecosystem and bolster the partnership between government, business, and academia. The government also established 3 bodies to deliver its ambitions for AI. One of those is the Office for AI, which I head up, whose mission is to drive responsible and innovative uptake of artificial intelligence technologies for the benefit of everyone in the UK. We also established the UK's AI Council, which is an expert committee formed of independent members from across industry, academia, and civil society to provide advice across government on AI, but also be a conduit between the AI ecosystem and the government. So really a two-way loudspeaker, if you will. Finally, we established the Centre for Data Ethics and Innovation, which is an independent advisory body set up to investigate and advise the government on how to maximize the benefits of AI and data-driven technologies whilst being aware of the pitfalls and the risks. Over the last couple of years, in the Office for AI, we've been concentrating on 5 main priority areas. These include leadership in society, skills and talent, access to data, supporting adoption and diffusion of these technologies across the economy, and international engagement. We've been incredibly busy in that time and achieved a tremendous amount across these priorities. So just to briefly touch on a few, if we go to the next slide. I hope you can see some of this. I'm going to just touch on a few of them. On skills and talent, we worked with the UK's Research Innovation Institute and Institute of Coding and the Office for Students to vastly increase the number of PhDs. So there's 1,000 more PhDs per year that are entering through the 16 new centres for doctoral training across the UK. We've worked with industry and the Institute of Coding to put in place more than 100 industry-funded master's students. We introduced 2,500 conversion courses at master's level for students from non-STEM backgrounds to get involved in these technologies. And this included 1,000 scholarships for people from underrepresented groups. A quick aside on statistics, because I think it's really important here. The courses started in September amidst the pandemic, and 22% of the student intake were awarded scholarships. Of these, 76% of the scholarships were women, nearly half were Black students, and almost a quarter were disabled students. This initiative was really about increasing diversity in this landscape, and the early statistics are really supporting that initiative, and then the findings really support that the initiatives have been working. We've also worked with Alan Turing Institute and the UK Research and Innovation to create these the Turing AI fellowships, which include a recent batch of accelerated fellows who benefit from £20 million of funding. So this is really about attracting and retaining the best and the brightest to the UK. So these are people at the top end of their careers who can come and become chairs and enjoy working within our institutions to help train the next generation. On data, we've worked with the Open Data Institute to pilot an early phase of data trust to encourage data sharing between organizations, really set up to solve common problems. We reported on this in 2018, but since then, the ODI has continued to work on data institutions, looking in particular with the NHS and action against age-related macular degeneration and sharing retinal scans to improve diagnosis. The AI Council has also picked up the mantle here, and they've been working with Ada Lovelace Institute on the legal mechanisms for data sharing. We know that organizations like the Food Standards Agency are looking at trust frameworks to encourage better data sharing to solve all manner of challenges in food supply chains. So a lot of the work that we've done in the Office for AI has actually been to kind of invigorate the ecosystem to pick up the mantle and run with it. And that's really been shown with the data work. On international, we've established a number of memorandum of understanding with countries, and we are also founding members of the Global Partnership on AI. This is the first intergovernmental initiative with a permanent focus on cooperation for AI's governance and development. At the moment, the GPA includes 19 governments, which is about 32% of the world's population. It represents 32% of the world's population. We're hoping to grow that even further, but as you can imagine, it needs to be growing in a sustainable manner. GPA is really about international collaboration. So pooling the greatest minds from across the world to work together, to collaborate, cooperate, and to solve the world's greatest challenges, the challenges that affect each and every one of us. It's about working together to solve those. And we've started that with addressing the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. If we move on to slide 3, the AI Council, who are, as I mentioned, are leading scientists, researchers, entrepreneurs who advise us in the government, they wanted to come together over the past year and address the issues about how AI is going to impact society and find ways to ensure that we're able to deliver the great breakthroughs that these technologies have the potential to deliver, and to really provide the government with a set of options, a roadmap, if you will, to deliver them. They were looking at the sector deal and thinking, what's next? So please do go ahead and read the roadmap that the council set out. It was published in January. What it does is it sets out areas that government has done well, which they say, keep doing, double down on these existing investments. The things that we started off with in the 2017 sector, in the review, and then the sector deal that followed. And then they want us to ensure that AI reflects the rapid pace of disruption that these technologies provide. So this is really asking about ensuring that we integrate the approaches to ethics, security, and social impacts alongside science and planning, not just for the short term, but for the next 10 to 50 years. They also said that we should write a strategy, which is what my team is now doing. But I will stop there, as I think we can talk a little bit more later about kind of what's coming next from the Office for AI.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sana, for this really great summary of all you've been doing, which is so much. I've been jotting down quite a few topics, which I think we could dive into. Also, just a note to the audience, if you do want to pose questions directly to Sana or her team, just write them in the chat and we'll take them. So please feel free to post a question. But as these questions are coming in, maybe my first question to you, Sana. Obviously, you're a government entity, and then you're working together a lot with the private sector. But how does this collaboration actually work? How do you foster it? How do you make it work?
I think that's a great question, right? And actually, reflecting on the last few minutes of His Excellency Al Olama, the minister in the UAE, Minister of AI for UAE, was saying around the importance of the ecosystem. I think it's so important to ensure that there is a very strong and ecosystem that communicates well. One of the ways that we have done that is through our AI Council, which represents industry, academia, and civil society. And they really provide the vehicle, they're the conduit into industry. And obviously the views and needs of industry are a big focus for us as we write the strategy with the aim of growing our AI industry. And the UK is very good at R&D and AI, but we want to make sure that this can translate to innovation. So it's important to bring private sector expertise into government. And it's also very important that we are able to within government ensure that there is a proper set of understanding and leadership that is able to accept the changes that are coming. So a couple of the things we have done specifically to help from a government perspective is we have created guidelines for AI procurement. So helping, we worked with the World Economic Forum's Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and we created something called Procurement in a Box. And we created kind of procurement guidelines to help any country, a set of principles that any country could adapt and create kind of their own actionable steps for how you safely and ethically and responsibly bring artificial intelligence inside the government. So really kind of working together with industry and other governments and other countries to put together these principles that could make a difference. These guidelines have been used by our own Crown Commercial Services to create a AI marketplace and a dynamic purchasing system that allows smaller companies to actually come into the government ecosystem. We've also created a set of guidelines for government in understanding what AI is. And how it can be used. So really it covers a set of case studies for the use of AI within government. It has case studies from across government to share with other departments. And it also includes, Alan Turing Institute has also created an entire section in there about safe and ethical use of AI technologies. So you can see how important a role the ecosystem has played in the creation of these guides, but also in ensuring that we have the right information that we can then share more widely across the public sector and the government ecosystem. So it's been incredible, an incredible journey so far, but it's really important for us that we haven't tried to do it all on our own. We rely on industry and we rely on academia, and we rely on civil society, and it's the joining of these that creates the magic.
That's a really nice sentence. Yeah, and I think if other people from other maybe public procurement professionals or others, they can really benefit, I think, from what you've already worked on and published. So I think I just saw that going on in the chat. I think there's a lot of information online which others can really draw from. But as you were mentioning, Asana, in your impulse statement, I thought that was so interesting. The rapid pace, of course, that's going on on AI. And I think up until about a year ago, everyone was running at such a rapid pace. And then, of course, COVID hit. And now, of course, everyone has had to grapple with that. We're a year later now. But how has, that really heavy strike and maybe blow affected your strategy? And could you maybe even give an example how AI has helped really conquer that crisis, or help us bridge the problems we're having?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the past year has been unprecedented. Nobody expected this, and it's been very difficult from a lot of perspectives. But I think one of the things that we can kind of be proud of as a nation, but as a world, as a world, is that things haven't completely stopped, right? We have basically allowed technology has allowed us to continue. I mean, we wouldn't have imagined that I'd be sitting in my house in London and you would be in Berlin, and we would be having this conversation with who knows how many countries are online currently watching it, right? But we have basically used these platforms to allow us to keep working and moving ahead. And this rapid increase of digitization across the board has incredibly sped things up in terms of technology adoption. So a lot of areas and sectors and people who thought, yes, we're going to have to do this transformation, and yes, we understand this is coming, went from, right, we want that next year or in 2 years' time in terms of a transformation plan, to we need it next week, and everybody needs to be online, and that's kind of the thing. And so there's a lot of barriers that have been removed, and from our perspective, things have never been busier. A lot of things have happened. So first of all, from a government perspective, we've taken a really long and hard look at our own approach to drive improvements in the way information is efficiently managed, used, and shared across government. And in order to do this, we need a whole government approach that ensures alignment across best practice, standards. We need to drive value from insights from data, and we need the creation of an appropriately safeguarded, joined up, and interoperable data infrastructure to support this. We needed the right skills and leadership within the public sector, and we're committed to really unlocking the value of data across the economy. So the national data strategy that the first mission within it is to create an environment where data is appropriately usable, accessible, and available. And this really underpins what we then would do with that data, how you use that data, and how you glean the right types of information from it. The AI Council during COVID has pivoted to help across government, help advise. They wrote the roadmap and talked about the need to be resilient in the face of some of these. I like your idea about giving examples as well, because there's a lot of places where AI has actually been really beneficial. So I can give you two very quick examples. One thing is we have really visibly, I think, as a society, started to see how the role that data plays in decision making. We used to have daily briefings by the Prime Minister and the chief chief scientist, and chief medical scientists in the UK, and they often present with a set of slides that shows that has graphs and data, and it shows the kind of prevalence of the disease and so on. But what for me, that kind of really symbolized the change, and it really puts in our face the idea that data really drives all of this decision making, right? Moreover, we have the NHS has a national COVID-19 test imaging database. So they did this all through the pandemic, where they centralized UK databases to support a better understanding of the virus, and to develop AI technology to enable better care for patients that are hospitalized with severe infection. So we have 84 hospitals that have contributed over 29,000 images so far. This makes it one of the largest data collection exercises for medical imaging in the UK. We have been using AI-powered dashboards across our hospitals to help the NHS cope with the winter second wave of COVID-19, and the dashboards allowed clinicians to make rapid, crucial treatment decisions on the front line. So lots of things like that, which were directly related to the COVID pandemic.
And so fascinating. I think so much we can learn also from what you've done here in Germany, really. And we could probably go on for another hour just on the examples. But maybe as a closing question, Sana, if you can say it in one sentence, so much you've done, what's next? What's on the roadmap for the Office for AI?
So a few weeks ago, the Secretary of State for the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport set out his 10 tech priorities, and writing a national AI strategy is within the top 10 priorities. So that is what my team is doing. So watch the space. We will be publishing the UK's national AI strategy within this year.
That's something to look forward to. Thanks so much for being here today, Sana, for all your answers. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that strategy this year.
Thank you very much, Antonia. Thank you very much for your time and for having me.